So this week's episode of The Walking Dead was pretty interesting. They kind of did this whole thing where they just focused on the hilltop. It was kind of a continuation of the one whisperer Lydia, who we have come to learn her name, being captured by Daryl and brought in, and she's in jail, and Henry's there, and he's trying to he's talking to her, and Daryl's listening in on information. So we kind of see this relationship start to form between Henry and Lydia.
Wait, who's Henry?
Henry is the son, quote unquote, son of King Ezekiel.
Right.
And,
yeah.
he was that little kid who's now older.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So, and technically his mom, I guess Carol, has become his adopted mom. And so yeah, he's still in the prison there because he had that one episode where he went with some kids of the hilltop, and they got drunk and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So Lydia's in there, and she's kind of telling him the story of how their group formed, and Lydia's very much of the opinion, places like these, like Hilltop and Alexandria, they don't last. They always fall to the dead. And we start to see flashbacks of her as a kid. So we get to see 23 days into the outbreak, and kind of how that week unfolds and how her group started. So it starts with you see her. She's an only child with her mom and her dad. And her mom looks to be about 10 years older than her dad. It's kind of jarring, but we see one picture where, or one flashback where her dad is kind of freaking out, and he's wanting to go outside because they're in a shelter, and it seems like they're boarded in, or they boarded themselves in. And he's wanting to go outside and find out what's going on, and he's getting very restless and very antsy. And her mom is holding her and and singing to her, singing a song about her name, and her name is tattooed on her arm, Lydia's tattooed on her mom's arm. And the dad just seems like a straight up jerk. He keeps saying things like Lydia says, the younger version of Lydia in this flashback says, when are they coming to rescue us? He's no one's coming. And she's oh, daddy's so funny, he's joking around. Her mom is saying these things. So we see another flashback, same situation, where the dad's just being a jerk, and he starts to he's got a beard, and then he just goes in front of a mirror and he starts hacking it off with scissors. And the wife is what are you doing? He's just well, it's a new world, I'm gonna do what I want. He's I didn't even like this, you're the one that liked this, so I'm just gonna do what I want. So that was interesting because later on, excuse me, so these flashbacks are there's about 3 or 4 of them, I think, kind of scattered throughout the episode. The next flashback, this is where I started to notice some details that were off. It seems like it's later on in the in this shelter place where they're staying. It's been a few more days, and people are really starting to get antsy. They're really starting to freak out. You can hear gunfire outside, and things look like it's really falling apart. And one guy is trying to get out, and her mom at that point pulls this guy away from the wall, trying to break through the window, and accidentally strangles him to death. Her mom does that. Weird. This whole time, her dad's holding her, and he's got a beard on, and he's got a beard on. It's and I was watching this with my wife, and we were just saying wait a second, didn't he cut his beard off? Did it already grow back? How much time has gone by? We were wondering, and it struck us as odd. Then we see another flashback where we see her mom or her dad holding her and singing to her, and he's got a tattoo of her name on his arm, and he's singing the same song. And then we see the wife cutting her hair, saying, "I'm going to do what I want now." And what they did was they employed something in that's used in literature called I think the term is unreliable narrator. You probably heard about that in literature, right? The unreliable narrator. You can't necessarily trust everything that they're telling you. And they did that in this episode, but they did it in a way where I was just like, oh my goodness, that was so clever. What they did was they were showing you how what the dad was doing, all the jerk things that he was doing. But that was the story that Lydia's mom had told her, that he was the abusive one, and in reality all the jerk things were being done by her mom. Her mom was the one that like cut her hair and was just like, I'm going to do what I do. Her dad was the one who had the tattoo on his arm all along. It wasn't her mom.
How old was the girl at the time?
She was probably about 7.
So she didn't remember it?
I guess traumatic events, whatnot. Probably older than 7. I think she might have been closer to like 9.
Weird.
9 or 10. Because it's been like, 7-8 years now.
Yeah.
Probably longer. Maybe it might work. I think she's supposed to be about 18 years old now. So yeah, I thought that was really cool how they did that, because I mean, she's been through a lot of weird crap and stuff. We do see a more understanding side of Daryl. Like at one point, Henry just straight up asks him like, well, can she stay here? Like, can we give her a home here? And he just said, we'll see. Which is, about as much as you can get out of Daryl as far as being kind to
strangers.
Your enemies and whatnot. We still don't know what happened to Luke and the other guy.
Well, it sounds like all these flashbacks and you still don't, all the other questions haven't been answered.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And this was episode 9, so
there's like, what, 5 left?
I think
there's
there's
14 episodes, or is that wrong? 11, 12. It's an even number, or I mean, it can be split.
Or is it? It's 16 because they did
16.
8.
Okay,
they did 8 for the first half, so they'll do 8 for the second half. Still waiting on those, but we didn't even see Michonne. We didn't see Negan. We didn't see anyone from Alexandria at all. It was just focusing on the hilltop and what the group. Oh, and at one point this was kind of dumb. The group, Luke's group that came to the hilltop, they're wanting to go out and look for him, but like they get outside they sneak out at night and they get outside for maybe like 3 to 5 minutes, and then they decide, no, it's too dangerous, we need to go back. It was just really weird. And the episode ends with so Lydia's mother is the leader of the Walkers, called Alpha. And
her name is Alpha?
Her name is Alpha. She just goes by, that's the name she goes by, Alpha.
All right.
And she's got a shaved head. And she's actually not, she was wearing a mask when we see her, because she was the one who, I think, led Luke and the other guy into the trap the last episode.
Oh, yeah.
But now we see her without a Walker mask on, and she shows up and she says, with a whole group of whisperers, and says, hey, my name is Alpha, and I'm here for my daughter. And that's where the episode ends.
Yeah.
So outside of those flashbacks, like nothing really interesting has happened. I kind of feel like the stuff with the conversations that were happening between Henry and Lydia were taking up a little bit too much screen time. I think maybe there's probably a bit of a crush that Henry has on,
wow, surprise, 2 teenagers.
Yeah, and this is gonna hack some people off, but they're both the same race. Oh no, they can't have a relationship.
Oh, whoa!
I know, we gotta
sound the alarm.
Wait, it's not a homosexual or a mixed race relationship. Oh, we gotta.
This isn't real.
Yeah.
It's not reality.
Absolutely. Although in the group we find out that the woman who's deaf and the person who is probably trans. So the woman, I used to think that they were in a relationship together, and they're not. They're actually sisters. But she called her sister, the one who's deaf, signed like, I'll take care of my sister when they were outside of the walls, and but she's dressed like a guy. So
the deaf one?
No, her sister, who's always translating for her. So is she misgendering her? I want to know. Him, I mean.
So there's a pair of siblings, and one's deaf.
One's deaf, and the other's trans.
You can't make this stuff up, folks.
No, I
Talk
can't.
About a massive pander bear.
I can't keep this stuff straight. I really can't.
The show is a pander bear at this point.
Yeah.
It's just, it's laughable, really. Actually, it is.
Yeah, and I mean, Daryl's getting a lot of screen time, so that is an upside.
But to me, this spells desperate.
Well, they're running out of characters to give screen time to. I mean, even Tara's getting more screen time.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying when you have them trying to cater to those minorities, it's just like, I don't know. It's like, we need more views. It's just so goofy, man. It's so goofy. I don't know.
It is. Oh, did I mention there was one up? I think it was the mid-season premiere where we found out that Rosita. You know who Rosita is, right? She's pregnant with the Muslim doctor's baby.
What?
Yeah,
that was a thing.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that because it was so quickly mentioned.
Wow, that's all.
And what's his name? What's the name of the guy who talks really oddly?
Oh, Ezekiel?
Not Ezekiel.
Well, he used to talk.
He does talk.
Does he
strangely.
still?
I'm talking about the guy who's kind of the big nerd.
Oh, Eugene.
Yeah. Couldn't think of him.
Mullet guy.
Mullet. Yeah.
Or does he still have a mullet?
He still has a mullet.
Okay.
Does he?
For some reason, I thought he didn't.
He may not, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, Eugene overheard this, and he's has feelings for Rosita, and so now he's probably super depressed. This didn't happen this episode. This happened I think a couple of episodes ago. I just forgot to mention it. But it's weird because she's actually in a relationship now with Gabriel.
Wow, a really stand up, a class act, Rosita.
Right. And her words were, "Do you remember when we were fooling around?" Yeah. So, yeah, the show. I do feel like the show is going downhill if it doesn't improve quickly. You may not see these reviews from us much longer.
Eventually, I'll review. I'll at least finish the season, but we'll see after that.
Yeah. So, I'm not even going to give it a rating, to be honest. I think you can kind of guess what I feel like. I did like the flashbacks. I loved that they did that switcheroo thing and gave me a bit of unreliable information at
Pulled
first.
the sneaky on you.
Yes, very sneaky.